Hi Siri, I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It is Wednesday. We've made it to Hump Day, folks. We'll have JC, then we'll have Kevin Brockway from the Gainesville Sun. He'll give us a recap of what happened last night in the O'Connell Center against the Rattlers. The Rattlers from FAMU. If you missed it, Gators did win last night. I want to give a shout out to the St. Augustine Gator Club. I was over speaking to those folks last night. Got back late. I didn't see any basketball, so don't chime in. I mean, you can ask questions. We'll ask Kevin. JC, you're on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. What's happening?
Well, I'm looking at you wondering how you're not sinking in that swamp you're sitting in right there behind you. It's rainy. It's rainy like it's I don't know where all this rain's coming from. Anyway, QB, listen, all the SEC teams last night won except Kentucky. And I thought that game was in the bag because they were winning against Kansas pretty much the entire night, had an 8-point lead, 7-point lead, whatever. And, I thought to myself, damn, I can't watch this because it's November and we're talking about basketball. I'm glad you have Kevin Brockway on. He's one of my favorite guests on this show, and he's a great guy, Indiana guy, but has followed Florida and certainly is a good guest to have. So we'll get some good information from him. And, of course, Chris Harry, great beat writer for the basketball team. I've got high hopes for the basketball team, QB. I mean, it's got to be better than last year. And I certainly think with some size that I think this team has, Florida could be competitive. It's a good conference, though. I think every team won last night. I think it's a good conference. I want to say it's a good conference this year in the SEC.
Kentucky lost, didn't they?
Well, that's what I was saying. They were playing and beating Kansas most of the whole night, and then Kansas just went on a crazy run. Kentucky apparently is a very young team, but they are very good. So I think they'll be the favorite to win the league, but I think the league is strong. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be a good league to watch. But damn, dude, I don't know. I mean, I know things are struggling with the football down here. It's November the 15th, and if football wasn't struggling, it would be it's always going to get the most attention. But basketball in November is hard for me, QB. I gotta be honest. I don't really think about it. I don't know why we can't start basketball till January, but I understand why a lot of places want it now because, well, what else have they got? Football's not. It's winding down. It's winding down. Football's.
That's why they call it They have it's called March Madness, JC.
Well, we can do. How about May Madness? Is that a problem? Why would May Madness be a problem?
Because then you're in baseball season now.
Oh.
Yeah. Some YouTubers brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Keith wants to know if Saban or Kirby Smart were actually coaching this team, would the results be better, same, or worse?
Well, I mean that's
you can't compare. You can't compare that.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, look, they're great coaches. They are so successful right now. Kirby's really picking up his end of the bargain in the SEC East because, truthfully, before Kirby really got going, the East was just losing all the time to the West. Or I should just say Alabama. I mean, other than LSU and Alabama in the West, who's been playing out there? I mean, who's played in the game other than those two? So,
that's it.
Yeah. I mean, it's
in recent time. Mississippi State went 1 year way back in the day. Arkansas went a couple times. Yeah. Rod asked on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Shane, is there any truth about Cade Bell coming to Gainesville to be the OC? No.
Who is that, QB?
That's Kerwin's son. Kerwin's son.
Oh, right.
Kerwin Cade is the offensive coordinator. He calls a lot of the plays, but Kerwin's in charge.
Uh-huh.
Andy wants to know, does Ken Dorsey leaving the Bills help Josh Allen? It could. We'll see. Joe Brady's going to take over. When I watched Josh Allen the other night, he just looks like he's forcing things. He just doesn't look right for some. I don't know what's going on. There may be some. girlfriend problems or something. Who knows?
I talked to a big Buffalo fan that works with my office. He was I say they have trouble running the football. Now they did have a nice sequence where they at one point ran the ball well the other night against Denver, but they kind of got away from that. And you're right, Josh. It almost feels like he thinks he has to do more than what I think he really has to do. And Buffalo's 5-5, man. I said to my friend, I said, don't worry about the Bills. You got the Lions right now because he also lived in Michigan. So my friend's not totally dead. The Lions are 7-2. The Lions are the team right now that has the second best record in the NFC, and they're about to, if they keep winning, have the best record in the NFC because Philadelphia's next 4 games include Kansas City, San Francisco, Dallas, Seattle, and Buffalo. That is not easy, and they're going to lose 1 or 2 of those.
Yeah, Brandon said, let's be honest, we at least win the Arkansas game with either of those staffs. I agree with that. We could have won that with the Buchholz staff.
I mean, come on. Arkansas, geez.
It's not the opponent. It's how you lost the game. It is, like I said, their procedural stuff is unacceptable. There's no other way to put it. All right, we got a bunch of texts to get to on the Titan Mar text line.
Yeah.
Not sure who this is from. It says Dan Campbell of the Lions is the first person they should offer the job. He's an A&M alum and will probably turn it down.
No chance.
They have to ask. He will turn that down in a heartbeat.
No chance. But I did hear that. But I don't care who he's an alum with. That dude owns Motor City right now. He owns the place. He's going nowhere. He's like Isaiah Thomas. He owns that town. Dude, that's his town right now. He's not leaving that place. No way.
No way. No way. You go to college. You don't leave the National Football League to go to college.
Well, one guy did, but hey, whatever.
Who?
A guy named Saban.
Well, he had already been in it, but he went to he's winning. What I'm saying is, JC, that was before college football as it is today. That was a long time ago. There's no comparison now. This is when they don't give me a name, there's nothing I can do about it. It says, Gator fans, you need to be positive. You're beginning to not be positive. You OUF. You can help them get back. You have a larger voice than you realize. Maybe he's telling me that. Nobody gives a damn what I say.
They do. You get 400 text messages every day.
Right. But he's like I got any pull over there to do anything.
You are
that's the funniest text I ever seen.
It does say F Club on that there shirt, QB.
Well, that ain't got a damn thing to do with the University of Florida football team.
Okay.
That's a whole different department. It says, Shane, love your show. Want to point something out. When you say X school has more money, I'd imagine what you mean is the university's football program is a larger NIL war chest they're willing to spend on high school recruits and portals or transfers. Florida's academic war chest or endowment is around $2.7 billion. We ain't talking about academics. Okay, let me just go back to that again because we have another text that I wanted to read. This is from Dave in Ruston, Louisiana. He says, I want to ask you and JC, if y'all were multi-millionaires and big donors at whatever school, would you give your money to enhance the facility/program overall? Or would you give it to the NIL to buy players?
I think that is the big paradigm. That's the big question because we've talked about this. The donors have it. They just want to know where to send it because that's the only place it's going to go. It's not going to. QB, I think today with the facilities intact at Florida, you can always keep that going with certain budgetary dollars. But nowadays, I think you got to fund that NIL. That's my answer.
Say it one more time.
So I think with the facilities the way they are, they're intact.
Well, I'm not just saying. I don't want to just. Here's my answer. So you would give it to NIL, is what you said?
I would.
I don't know what I would do because I don't believe in the buying the players because I need to know how that guy's going to perform before I give him money.
Makes sense. It totally makes sense. And I get it. You're in the show me world right now. It's a results driven business. But QB, the thing is that money doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win. I think we know that now. But money sure gives you an idea of who you might be able to afford, maybe, and what you can offer. It doesn't mean you have to give it what they want. You can offer something and then try to sell this program. I think that's very important. This is in a way, and I've said this before. I know I've said this before, but coaching in today's college landscape is a sales job. It's a sales job. And so how you do that? And listen, if Billy wants to give me $1 million right now, I will go ahead. I will put together the business the way I have it now with what I do, and I'll show him. I'll go over there and show him how to sell Florida. I'm a Florida person. I lived here my whole life. I can sell this place.
JC, but listen. The selling is the most overrated thing in the world, because it just happened with the kid at all Mississippi from Picayune. Billy and the staff sold him to come to Florida. He committed, and then Jimmy from Yellowwood said, "You know what? We'll double your salary." What does that got to do with selling? It's about writing a check for more money.
Well, then my answer would be to your initial question, and I still think there is something you have to sell, though, other than just throw piles.
Well, the school sells itself. You don't have to.
If that were the case, we'd have them lined up out there, wouldn't we?
No. I said the school sells itself. I didn't say the school was going to pay everybody. I said the school sells itself. That's a fact.
Well, listen, there are ways you can emphasize the advantages to coming here, other than saying, we'll give you 1.3, they're only giving you 1. And I do think there is some truth to that, but I do agree that if you don't have something in that collective QB, you're just not going to win. And
well, they do. But my point is, other schools have more, and there's nothing I can do about that. You or anybody listening to this show, unless they want to write a check for a couple $1 million.
Yeah. Well, I still think there's a way. There's a way you can win without having to outbid Texas A&M, because look, they're not winning, and they're looking for a coach right now, and they look ridiculous with their situation. Michigan looks ridiculous with a different situation. There's always going to be situations that bother you or the fan base QB. There's always going to be. So you got to find people that want to be and love Florida, and yes, money is part of that, absolutely. But they got to want to be here too.
Bo says here, Shane on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plum, how much player development occurred back in the Spurrier days? It seemed like he was able to get a lot out of his players, and they weren't all 5 stars in the beginning, especially look, again, I go back, there's a handful of all-world Hall of Fame coaches. He has a knack of calling plays. He has a knack of getting people open. He has a knack of quarterbacks knowing how to play the position. And you can call that development or whatever. That's the one word that drives me nuts when people talk about that coach didn't develop him. Well, maybe he's developed him as much as he possibly can, and he can't get any better. Has that ever happened?
I know there's a ceiling.
I mean, JC, your golf game is what it is. You could go down to Orlando to the golf academy, David Ledbetter Golf Academy. You are what you are.
Yeah, but QB, you know as well as I do, players tend to get better as they go.
They do, but some get worse or some don't get better. I've seen it in my entire career. Even when I've coached high school kids, I do everything I can to put this kid in a position to be successful. Then sometimes you got to say he can't do it. So anyway, Tim says coach them up better. I agree. Sometimes you can coach as much as you can, and they are what they are. I'm not saying that about our team. I'm talking about all across the board.
I will tell you that Jaden Daniels, everybody gets that confused. There's a Jalen and there's a Jaden.
Mm-hmm. There's a difference.
Jaden Daniels got better as he went along, and I know
he did, but he is. I've said this, and I firmly believe it. He's better than Lamar Jackson.
Well, right now he is. 2 years ago he wasn't, and Jaden Daniels has developed into a superstar. And I hear the argument for him to win the Heisman, certainly. And I think he probably will after that game with Florida, and I think the team that got John James Fisher fired was Ole Miss. But I think the important thing is that they do get better, QB. I mean, Jaden,
they do, but I agree. I agree right here. I agree right here what Reggie says. He says some players peak in high school, some peak in college, some peak in the pros. That's true.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah, but you have to see a trend, don't you? I mean, don't you have to see the trend up? It has to move up.
Yeah, but like I said, not every athlete. There's a point where you are what you are. Okay. So
I mean, look at Bo Nix.
Everybody can disagree with me there.
Tell me about Bo Nix. Let me hear your story with him. What's his story?
He got better, but Jason, you're just giving me examples of people that got better. Let me tell you about some people that got worse.
Okay. Who?
Emory Jones. Okay. I don't think Anthony got any better since high school.
Mm-hmm. Well, he got.
I don't think. How about Felipe Franks? I mean, we're just using Gators for example, but we can do this for every school if you want. But yeah, there are going to be examples of people that got better because, like Reggie just said, you either get better or you don't. Whether that's development or you just haven't reached your potential.
Okay. No, I'm not. I don't disagree. Yeah, but I do see. I think we tend to pay more attention to those who tend to get better, and that's why they get the attention, isn't it? So. Yeah, I get it. I mean, listen, dude, the thing is that all you can do is just put out what you got and hope they play well, and give them all the advantages that you can and hope it works. That's what Florida's trying to do right now. They're trying to figure it out. And here's one: Billy is going nowhere. I had a guy ask me the other day, "Who we gonna get around here?" I said, "You're not gonna get anybody. You got a dude that's in place that you can't afford to boot. You can't afford it. QB, I don't think, folks, you tell me all the time what you think people don't understand. Here's what I know people don't seem to understand. You can't just move them in and out anymore. These coaches got the schools by the you-know-what with these contracts.
Like I told you, I think Billy's a good coach. I just think Billy needs help on his staff.
Well, that's up to Billy. What he could do is maybe trim the fat. It's bloated over there. Maybe that could be number two.
I'm talking about. I do think we need to get rid of a bunch of the analysts, but I'm talking about the people that are the 10 coaches that wear headsets. I think he needs help. I think he needs a lot of help.
He's in charge of that. The buck stops with him. But the point is that people to me that talk to me about who the Gators are going to get, they're not getting anybody. This guy,
no, they're not getting. The coach ain't going anywhere.
He's locked in, man. He's locked in. And I looked at that schedule for next year. Dear God, I don't even want to talk about that. Oh, I mean, look at that schedule, folks. If you want to get something that really makes you sad, look at that schedule for next year. Good God.
1966 HBC beers available at Spurs Gridiron Grill, Gator Games in the Swamp, and select retail outlets. Crisp American Lager. That's 1966 HBC beer. JC, this day in sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life. Campus USA Credit Union. 2020, the Masters. Remember when the Masters was played this week, this day? DJ fired a record 20 under par. He won over Cam Smith and Sungjae Im.
That was when? The Masters?
Yeah, in 2020 on this day.
Okay, because of COVID. There you go. Yes, you're right. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting to me. That I forgot about that.
Yep, for sure. Everything Gators on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says more scouts and more services out there and more eyes on the players than Spurrier's day development didn't change. He had more talent than what people realize. And also, as Shane said, he was a genius. Yeah, you can't look. I think people. I haven't mentioned this to the St. Augustine Club last night. I'm like, look, folks. If you look at the history of college football, the teams that had so much success had Hall of Fame coaches. And I think people diminish what those Hall of Fame coaches did. They just think that anybody can roll out there and do it.
Well, I think that people also have expectations for programs that won, which with those Hall of Fame
I agree. But JC, did you expect Mike Shula to win at Alabama?
No, because he was coming off probation, so I did not.
Okay. What about Dennis Francione?
I hated him.
Okay. But just because he became the coach at Alabama and y'all had won a national title under Bear Bryant and Gene Stallings, had no bearing on whether Dennis Francione was going to win or not.
No, it really did. Those time periods were very separate. Yeah.
Yes. You know, one thing that's driving me crazy is when people want to compare Billy's first 2 years to Urban's first 2 years or Mike Norvell's first 2 years. Nothing is comparable.
Yeah,
nothing.
very different.
Because the schedules are different, the leagues you play in are different, the players are different, and it's just the times have changed.
And there's this thing called a transfer portal.
Yeah.
And that's why we're seeing these coaches get moved, because December 4th is when it opens, and that's when these schools want to have somebody in place. You will see Texas A&M have a coach in place before or after Thanksgiving. I'm almost positive of that. Otherwise, why would they have fired them now? So they're going nowhere anyway. So yeah, definitely. So I don't know who the next coach to fall will be, but December 4th is a big day, folks. It's a big day. It's kind of like that signing day thing back in the old days when it was in February. Now that's in the early signing periods in December. You got transfer portal jumping open on December 4th. It's just a different world. And it's the ones who will succeed are the ones who can adapt to it. The ones who don't won't, period. And Dabo better do it, because 4 losses ain't going to get it at Clemson. He says, buy all the stock you want. Buy it all in Clemson. It could turn out that is IBM. So you don't want that. We'll see. I don't know. Dabo better change his ways, though, because if he ignores the transfer portal, he is going to lose.
Yeah, this text on the Take No More text line says it seems best to spend money in the portal for proven players. I agree with that.
Well, that's what we said.
But the other thing I tried to explain is we ain't the only people looking in the portal to spend money.
Right.
That's what the fan base doesn't understand. They don't understand let's just take Caleb Williams. Let's say he's like, you know what? I don't want to go pro. I'm going to go into the portal. Let's say Lincoln goes pro. He won't. Okay. Do you think the Gators are going to try to get him? Yes. Do you think Georgia's going to try to get him? Yes. Do you think Alabama's going to try to get him? Yes. So I think some people, because they're fans of whatever school, they think they're the only people that have opportunities to purchase players out of the portal.
Mm-hmm.
Do you hear I put that? Purchase players?
Yeah, purchase. Well, everything's got a price tag these days. I think it comes down to what the kid wants. Now, if you're saying all he wants is the most money, well,
I always use Dominic Lovett and Ra Thomas. Both of them were pretty much their best receivers on their roster last year, making probably good money in Starkville and Columbia, Missouri. What did they do? They went into the portal. Georgia threw money at them, and now they're their 2 starting receivers for the Georgia Bulldogs.
But how do you know that LSU didn't throw more money at them?
Well, I don't, but they probably said, you know what? I don't know that. That's my point, JC, is they went to Georgia because they probably they knew they were going to have a chance to win and make a lot of money.
That helps when you win. Sure as hell does. But you are always something before you're that. Meaning, before Spurrier became a legend, he was just kind of mulling around at Duke and did some neat things there and got people's attention. Same thing with Urban, dude. He was not a legend until he won at Florida. And, and that's the thing, is that you got to start with somebody from somewhere, and hopefully get the next guy. That's all.
Large Fry has a good question here on YouTube. Brought to you by
who is this?
Large Fry.
Okay.
He says, why do you think teams like FSU are doing better recently in the portal than we have, offering more money, valuing that input more? Okay, so they have 3 players, in my opinion, that have really changed maybe 4. But they got Keon Coleman late in the portal. And maybe Keon Coleman, maybe there was already contact with Michigan State through his people. Hey, we want you to come to Florida State. This is what you're getting. But Jared Verse played at some NAIA school that they got out of the portal. And Jaheim Bell was at South Carolina. Maybe we didn't want them. I don't know. We don't know the answer to any of this. Jaheim Bell is from Lake City. Maybe he wanted to be close. I mean, Gainesville's close, but maybe we didn't even want him.
Yeah.
We don't know the answer to that. Just because their players out of the portal have done well, I think our skill guys have done real well out of the portal. Montrell Johnson.
Okay,
Ricky
so what
Pearsall.
about this? So, QB, I'm in the St. Augustine Gator Club here. I've got a question. Can I? I'm raising my hand. QB. Oh, QB, with the given circumstances and the situation that we're in now, are we going to be able to save some of the guys like Eugene Wilson, and will we be able to keep Trevor Etienne?
Well, I answered that last night.
And what is the answer? I wasn't there, but I am now. Here I am. What was
the answer is we probably will lose some players because that's their choice. It's different than back in the day when if I wanted to transfer, I have to sit out a year of football.
Sure.
Now you don't have to. And I'm sure there's tampering going on.
Oh, that's as clear as day, dude. It happens.
Right. So that's another reason why that I think people hate college football now, especially coaches, is because, you used to recruit. There was just a time period that you recruited, recruiting season, and then you had the all season.
Sure. There was
You
structure.
You busted your tail to get your 25 or 30 players,
Well,
whatever it
there
is.
was structure.
Well, now you have to do it year round. And then you got that 85 scholarship guys on your roster. You're recruiting them on a daily basis to keep them. It's nonsense.
Maybe that's why he's got 700 people over there. I can just tell you that there has to be some structure in this game. What is your answer, QB? What would the answer be? And I guess I'm going to theorize that maybe your answer would be there has to be some structure and some ground and some framework for some ground rules on how this maneuvering of players and paying of players is legislated.
I think somehow it needs to have a salary cap, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Although that's not going to publicly, we all know players have been being paid for years. Now it just became a mess when it's publicly and you can do it legally. So even if you had a salary cap, you're still going to have under the table money done. I'm pretty sure of that. But you got to change. You will. I was for the transfer portal because I think kids need to play, but kids jumping from school to school, they got to put. What is your question?
I know, QB. I'm over here in the corner. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Get the microphone. QB, why do you think Billy Napier is a good coach? Thank you.
I think he does cause some good stuff offensively. Maybe it's not as explosive as people want, but I think he's very organized. Now, like I told you, the organization has not translated to the sideline during the games, but I think that organization has a lot to do with your staff. Mm-hmm. Like I've told people do not listen to my show.
But it is his staff, right?
It is his staff. He is in charge, and I think he will make changes. But it goes back to the special teams errors, the delay of games. That is a result of everybody with a headset on. Okay, JC, I haven't done a whole lot in my life, but I have been in many meetings and many sidelines during games. Okay.
Yeah.
I even do it with the damn headset calling the radio now. If you listen to the games, I'll be saying, Sean, we got to hurry up. We got to hurry up. Because I'm watching the play clock. Apparently, there's not one damn person with the headset on that's being paid watching the 25-second clock. That is not the OC's responsibility.
I want to put in my application to watch the shot clock. How much can I get for that? A couple hundred, you think? Maybe
I don't
100?
know.
Yeah, well, listen, I heard you and Buddy talking yesterday. There are a couple of things I just want to say before you let me go and we talk basketball. And the first thing is that I appreciate his love for and Florida fans' love for the past. I do appreciate it. History is something you should enjoy, something you should really grasp around. But you cannot keep obsessing about the 90s around here, dude. You've got to go forward, and you've got these kids walk by those statues, and here's what they do, QB. Hey, man, what are we eating today?
They don't even walk by the statues. They're out of the way now.
I'm just saying that's an example. That's an example. These kids today are so young. You got to remember, they were born.
They weren't even born when Tebow played.
They were born in 2004. I mean, 2005.
No, some of them were born when Tebow played. Yeah.
2003, 2002. Yeah, they were born. But Kimmy, they were 5. They didn't know who they were when Tebow played, basically, or they were 6 or 7. And I do appreciate the history, and I do appreciate, the wonderful things that's happened here. But these kids today, man, you've got to go forward that way.
I agree 100% with that. I just want to jump back on. We're getting a bunch of about FSU doesn't have the money we have. They did a better job.
They don't.
That's true. That is true. But I just want to go back and tell people again.
Okay.
You can do everything you possibly can to convince John Cornell, the fullback from Interlochen High School. You can do everything. You can do everything possible to convince him to come be a Florida Gator. Okay. But when it's all said and done, John Cornell, the fullback from Interlochen, is going to decide to go where he wants to go.
True.
That's what you can compare their NILs doing this. That they may have a much better NIL, but we may get a player that they want and pay him less money. We don't know. You can't control what a 17, 18-year-old kid's decision is what drives me crazy.
Well, yeah, you just have to try to influence them the best you can. And that is part
Yes.
of the sales job aspect that I talk
Yes, it is a sales job, but again, whether it's money, whether it's they know
about.
somebody there,
Sure.
we can't control that. And I think until people accept that, remember, you can only have 25 come out of high school.
Mm.
So anyway, I understand people's frustration, but
Yeah.
here's the thing: there's nothing you can do about it, people. Quit wasting your day stressing about it.
I know, but QB, the thing is every Gator fan's fear is not to become Nebraska, not to become Tennessee that happened before Heupel showed up
Well,
from
we
20.
have. That's the problem.
Well, I know, and that's what's scaring the heck out of people. They don't want to be Nebraska. They don't want
Yeah.
to be that team, that school.
Well,
That
you know why Nebraska's that team is because Tom Osborne retired.
Yeah, and a lot of things happen too. Nebraska is Nebraska, and those kids don't know about Tom Osborne. Nobody today.
No. What I'm saying though is,
Yeah.
I go back to that
Yeah.
Hall of Fame coach that had it going.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
he had a great run. No question. So did
Yeah.
Barry Switzer, and so, these guys did. And you're just waiting for the next one to show up. Is it Billy? I don't know, but the thing is that you can only hire one head coach. QB.
Okay. I'm gonna get to Kevin, but see, I disagree with what Michael says. He goes, those are the kinds of mistakes. Exactly the point. Why? Why is Napier? He has to know these things. So where are the changes? Why does I don't know if he's talking about recruiting or on the sideline. There's nothing he can do about it right now. I firmly believe something will happen at the end of the year.
Yeah,
all right, JC, we're going to talk hoops with Kevin.
Okay.
Have a great day.
All right, go Gators. See you Friday.
That's JC. Join us on the Tight Number Hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. Take a quick time out, come back, talk a little hoops and football. Kevin Brockway from the Gainesville Sun. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Duffield Home Improvements for your window, siding, and roofing needs. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
The Kiara Grace Foundation proudly presents An Evening with Tim Tebow, Thursday, November 30th at the Touchdown Terrace at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. Experience a once-in-a-lifetime VIP meet and greet with Tim. Hear his heartfelt stories and his unyielding dedication to the most vulnerable. With your support, we can extend the reach of the Kiara Grace Foundation to save precious lives in Latin America. Get your ticket before they sell out. Don't miss your chance to meet Tim Tebow, be inspired, and make a tangible difference.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Silverback Concrete is a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structures with unrivaled quality. Silverback Concrete, you stand on it, we stand by it. Let's go to the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. We're joined by the Gainesville Sun's Kevin Brockway. Good morning, Kevin. How you doing, bud?
Good morning. How are you, Shane?
Pretty good. Real quick, I want to read this. Natasha's got a good Facebook Live brought to you by Mel Law. She says, the NIL and portal creates the cheating lover issue. If they will cheat with you, they will cheat on you. If they will come play for you for the money, they will leave you for the money. I agree with that. What do you think about that, Kevin?
Well, hey, listen, I mean, it's just the way of the world now, as far
Mhm.
as NIL is concerned and commitments as well. And I think that, I was talking to a recruiting analyst yesterday, and he said that that is the thing right now, for sure. So I think a lot of these fans that are, concerned about, Billy Napier, if the season ends, 5-7, is that going to kill the recruiting class? It's going to come down, I think, more to dollars and cents. And I think also for Billy, the ability to sell playing time. I think that's another huge factor. And you look at a guy like Eugene Wilson, for example. He can point to that and say, "Hey, look, you come here, you're talented, you bust your tail off, you're going to get a chance to see the field right away."
Yep. Before we get to basketball, Barone says Tyron Hopper will look nice at linebacker for Florida the past couple of seasons. Instead, we will see him play for Missouri. Yeah, he transferred, but you can't like that. That's my point to the whole discussion today is you cannot tell a kid what to do. He's going to make his own decision. And honestly, his front four that protects him at linebacker is a lot better than our front four. All right, Kevin. Last night, Gators beat FAMU. They go 2-1 now. Just kind of give us a rundown what you thought about the game against the Rattlers.
Well, they started 14 of 15, 1 of 14, excuse me, missing 14 of the first 15 shots. So I think it was, Todd Golden called it kind of fluky. I thought they threw up some bad shots, to be honest, a little bit early in that game. But I think as they didn't let it affect them defensively. And as they got into the flow of the game, they did perform better. I mean, Alex Connon was really good in the second half. He had 16 to 17. Will Richard was good throughout. Riley Kugel was an off night for him. And then he got whacked in the face in the second half of the eye. He had to go out for a little while. So not his best game, but Walter Clayton, I think, bounced back nicely from the Virginia game, played pretty well. So I think all in all, it was, a decent showing. You would have liked to see him come out with a little more, fire in the first half and execute a little better offensively. Second half, they kind of let Betts get open for too many threes, I thought, also defensively. But 89-68, I think you'll take it heading into FSU. And, it was, a decent effort, and certainly it's going to get a little bit tougher from here, with FSU, and then go to New York next week.
What do you see the difference? I mean, it's early, but what's the biggest difference that you see in 3 games this year compared to last year?
Well, size, rebounding. I mean, Virginia, they were very good, 47-30 out rebounding teams. I think this team's got a little more size, a little more physicality, and they can go. And the 2 freshmen too, Hall and Condon coming off the bench too, are got energy guys and guys that can rebound a little bit. So yeah, I think this is a team that toe to toe on the boards will probably do a little better in the SEC. But I'm telling you how much Kentucky, Kansas last night. The SEC is going to be a bear again this year. I'm looking at KenPom. You got 6 in the top 21. And Florida right now is at 41. So this is going to be another really tough year in the conference.
Yeah, for sure. They're bringing in really good coaches in this league, and it's where would you rank the SEC? I mean, it's still early. I mean, you can rank them later on, but where do you think they are in the pecking order in conferences?
Well, I think the Big 12 and the Big East are up there, but below that, I think they're right up there in the top 3. And I think what makes the SEC, different. And I talked to a few coaches because it was interesting. I talked to for Blue Ribbon Magazine, I talked to Lamont Parrish in the off season, and South Carolina coach, and he has a background in the Big 10. And it's just a really athletic league. It's just, that you've got so many athletes in this league. And maybe not the most skilled guys, but guys with large wingspans, guys that can, rebound, guys with great vertical leaps. And I think what ends up happening is, a lot of times early in the season in the SEC, this used to be the bugaboo. Not so much anymore, but they would kind of slip a little bit in the non-conference schedule and really hurt their conference RPI and, maybe KenPom numbers. But then you would see in March, a lot of teams would make really good runs. And I think, the skill level tends to come during the course of the season. And, teams kind of come together and gel in February and March. And a lot of those SEC teams tended to perform a lot better in the tournament than they did in, November and December.
We get the point guard back, right, Friday?
Zion Pullen, yes, which is going to be, I think it's going to really help because I think we saw down the stretch in that Virginia game that, Walter Clayton was a combo at Iona. And just some of his decision making down the stretch was, shall I say, unfortunate. And, I think Virginia kind of directed him in some areas of the floor where he probably shouldn't have been. And it really kind of cost Florida down the stretch. And but I think with Zion, you're going to have another guy on the floor that can really handle it and take pressure off the ball. I'll be interested to see what Todd does. We got to see a few practices in October, and Zion ran with the first team some. He ran with the second team some. I mean, they might ease him in a little bit, but he is definitely going to help. And I think, his background is as a true point at, UC Riverside. I think he's going to, be a little more steadier with the ball and with the decision making.
Oh, we got a text on the Take No More text line from Jackson. He says, Kevin, give me your early Final Four picks. That's pretty early.
Well, watching Kansas with Hunter Dickinson, I'd have to say that they're probably going to be there. Last night, I mean, he was just, I think he makes them, and Harris, he makes them just that much better.
How much, by the way, speaking of NIL, because I got a million comments about NIL, how much did he make going to Kansas?
Probably close to seven figures, I would guess,
Yeah.
And the thing about Hunter from his time at Michigan too, that I recall, I mean, Hunter's a personality too. So he'll do really well in terms of even locally with endorsements there because, he's the kind of guy that, will want to do commercials and things. He's just a ham in general. So he'll make out just fine.
But he's the prime example of today's college athletics. He was the star at Michigan. And Michigan wasn't a bad basketball team, but he goes into the portal. Kansas gives him all this money, and now he's playing for the number one team in America, has a chance to win a national title. So it's a mess. Another text on the Take No More text line. This is from George in Nashville. He says, how much pressure is Todd Golden under this year to make the tournament?
Yeah, no, listen, hey, I think it's, I think basketball administration-wise here, they're a lot more patient than football. So I think Todd will get time. Like, I don't think from that aspect, but I think it would be nice if you're a Gator basketball fan to see him take a step forward. I mean, they made the NIT last year. They were kind of in position, but with Colin Castleton going down, that obviously hurt him late last season. I think they've got a little more depth to withstand an injury like that this season. But I do wonder with this team about its athleticism. I think it's a very skilled team, this Florida team that he's put together this year. But like I said, in the SEC, you got a bunch of athletes. But I'll tell you what, I think they're deep at the point guard spot with Pullen coming back. And, I get this freshman Lithuanian kid, Cages, he did not look bad at all coming in down the stretch, little guy. In terms of stature, in terms of, physical strength, could probably put on a few pounds, but really, really skilled kid. And Denzel Aberdeen, I think, he had 12 points last night. He's made a little bit of a jump. So I think they'll be okay. I think they'll be in the mix in the SEC. The problem is, you could be the seventh best team in this league this year and make the tournament. And I think that's kind of where they are, maybe ceiling top four, but I think Tennessee is going to be just really good this year, and I think Texas A&M is going to be really good this year. And watching Kentucky last night, I think they're going to be pretty good. Reed Shepherd looked. Antonio Reeves. They're going to be tough, and they come here early. It might be good to get them early because of the fact that they're such a freshman team. But I think they're. I think for sure it's just going to be a slog in the SEC again this year.
Radware is a family-owned business that prides itself in excellent customer service while providing quality and affordable promotional products and customized apparel. Speaking with Kevin Brockway from the Gainesville Sun, brought to you by Duffield Home Improvements. Text on the Take No More text line from Daryl says, Kevin, thank you for all the coverage of Gators basketball. I know you have a passion for saltwater fishing. Have you made it down to the Keys lately?
I was there over the summer, but didn't get a chance to do any fishing down there. But I get down to South Florida too. But did a little bit there. But I do kind of miss it down there. It'd be nice to get out on the ocean and maybe get a wahoo or mahi would be good, just to not only catch, but to bring home and fillet. Have a few have a few mahi sandwiches. That wouldn't be too bad.
There you go. We've had a bunch of people on both YouTube and Facebook ask our chances against Florida State in basketball.
I think they're pretty good because FSU under Leonard is still kind of rebuilding. And plus you're at home. I think the crowd, Friday night will be pretty good, and I think you just gotta come out with the right mindset. I think with FSU and Leonard Hamilton, they're always going to play defense. They're always going to have good, long, athletic, rangy forwards, and it's just a matter of being patient with them and executing really well. But Leonard's teams tend to be on average pretty offensively challenged too. So I think as long as Florida goes out, plays pretty good defense, maybe puts a little pressure on the ball, creates some defense off offense. I think this team too, when its mindset is right, does that pretty well. I saw that in the Loyola game, and you can get out on the break a little bit. They had 21 fast break points in that opener, and I think that's again where they're probably at their best is when you turn defense into offense.
Couple of questions here about recruiting. Natasha wants to know your input on the Liv McGill and Shaq's daughter signing with the women, and then the big 7'6" kid committed to Florida. Your thoughts on those athletes?
Yeah, no. Well, first of all, for Kelly Ray Finley, I mean, she's done a phenomenal job in recruiting, and it amazes me too because when you look at what you're going up against in the SEC and some of the crowd sizes compared to Florida and game day atmospheres, I mean, that's something that you're selling something else for sure. And I think Shaq's daughter will definitely help and, maybe create a little buzz around the program. As for the 7-footer, today's the last day to sign officially. And, he's committed, but he hasn't signed. And I'm hearing some rumblings that, he might not sign, and it might be a situation where, they wait and Florida waits and evaluates him, in the spring as far as, whether he's going to be a full scholarship player or perhaps a preferred walk-on. But he's another interesting guy. He's 7'6". You can't teach 7'6", right? So I think, but I think he does need a little bit of work, particularly offensively.
Text on the Titan Mar text line from Chris from Cottondale says, Shane, you have to be frustrated with saying same thing over and over. It's like you're on repeat every day. As a high school coach, I always say all the kids do the same drills. Some get better, some don't, in regards to your quote development theory. And I have to agree with you. Yeah. I mean, Kevin, you've covered, people are talking about, Billy's not developing players or whatever. I totally disagree with that. Some players are what they are.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a big basketball guy. I mean, Billy Donovan had some players that didn't ever develop into good players. They were what they were. You miss on them and you move on. I mean, not everybody's going to get better.
Yeah, exactly. I think that on percentage, though, you would like to see, some, a high percentage do that, but that's not always the case. But I will say this for Billy, you look at that 06-07 national championship team. Joakim Noah made the biggest jump from a freshman to sophomore than any player I've ever seen, which is pretty amazing when you look at it. So I will give Billy credit because there's like Chandler Parsons was another guy, Scotty Wilbekin. You look at those guys and you get better. It's, some of that's on the coach and some of that's on the individual too, though. That's not all on the coach. It's also on the player putting in the work. And you can try to motivate in different ways, but I think ultimately it's self-motivated. But I agree with you, Shane. Sometimes people are just what they are, and they don't, get better. And there's a lot of factors that go into it. There's injuries, as you know, and especially in football. It's not easy to make progress year to year.
Reggie says college football is now the NFL without a contract. You have to remove yourself from the emotional attachment to a player. There's 90% chance they can move on. It's a good way to put it. All right, Kevin, before we get you out here, Andy wants to know, do you have a good Bobby Knight story from your days in Indiana?
Well, I was there, obviously, I was in Assembly Hall when he came back in 2020. And that was an amazing atmosphere. And just to see all the former players come back. And this is before Mike Woodson came back as coach, but he was there. Isaiah Thomas was there. And it's amazing the Indiana basketball family there, and the reverence they have for him. And look, he's a polarizing figure. I tend to think he was kind of a product of his era, and as times changed, his methods motivating to fear did not work. But I do think that those of that era, still swear by him in terms of the kind of people they became because Bobby Knight pushed them, and I think that you can debate the methods, and it's kind of fascinating. But he was a huge personality. He used to go to Culver's in Bloomington, kind of towards the end, and when you have dementia, you kind of have good days and bad days, and sometimes would sign autographs for fans even 2 or 3 years ago. Take some pictures here and there. So he was beloved in Indiana by some, by many, and it's very, very, obviously, I think a lot of people knew that the end was kind of near the last few years, and trust me, those people in the state will definitely miss him, and maybe they will build a statue for him at Assembly Hall. I think that would be a nice. I know he didn't want it done, but I think now maybe the family will relent and do that for him.
Yeah, I bet they do. All right, you're known worldwide as to sing karaoke. What was your go-to song in New Orleans last week?
I did Wonderwall. Yeah, no, that was fun. Got to catch me out a little bit, and that was a good time on Friday night. Some of the young writers on the beat kind of enjoyed it, and it was fun. Got to Acme Oyster House too. Got some oysters, and it was good to be back there. And it's a little bit different now than Shane. We're getting up there, but it's still always a good time when you go down there. And it was you just kind of wish that on Friday for Saturday a little bit of a better result in Baton Rouge, but I thought that they were pretty competitive for 3 quarters. I mean, they're right there 35-32. And that Khalil Jackson penalty that overturn was obviously pretty, but I still doubt they could have, kept pace and score with them. This defense right now, for whatever reason, perhaps they missed Shamar James a lot, but it's just not there, not producing. And you could see it, as we both could see it regressing a little bit in October, and it's just really taking a turn for the worse.
Yeah. Kevin, good stuff as always, buddy. Let everybody know how they can listen to your podcast, follow you on Twitter, and read all your work.
Yeah, just Gatorsports.com, at Kevin Brockway G1, and on Gator Sports, we do the Swampcast with David Whitley. That's always fun. Try to get other writers in and preview matchups. So as always, appreciate it. A lot of fun being on with you, Shane.
All right, thank you. That's Kevin Brockway joins us on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Duff Hill Home Improvements. Going to get to a couple of YouTubes here before we get out of here. Justin says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. We have to put more resources in portal recruiting. We can't be stacking losing seasons and not think it will impact recruiting and the perception of the program's trajectory. Yeah, winning is key. But again, you can put all you want into the recruiting and portal or whatever. But again, folks, it comes down to that kid making a decision where he wants to go play football. Baron says, does the UAA and the ADs truly value football in the way programs like Georgia, Bama, LSU, Ohio State, Texas value football? I don't think so, with all their unqualified head coach hires and all sports equal slogan. So I don't know the answer to that. I do know we're very good in pretty much every sport for the most part, especially the spring sports. I would say the Georgia and Alabama, and probably Ohio State, and maybe Texas, they do care about football more than anything else, it seems like. So Barone says the UAA and ADs are the true reason Gator football has struggled post-Meyer, neglected facilities, poor hires, obsession with Title IX, and so on. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's program. I want to thank JC. He and I will have our Peachland Dental picks on Friday. And I want to thank Kevin Brockway for joining us as well. We'll be here tomorrow with Brent Beard, get his thoughts around the country. Oh, JC and I didn't even talk about the top 4. A lot of people were upset that Florida State's in there over Washington. Washington has a better resume, better strength of schedule, and all that stuff. So I still think they're going to be left out. And we can really take care of that by beating them. So hope you enjoyed today's show. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.